never slow up. No, I don't take shit. I got no love for the fakeness. If you wanna play tough and wanna hate this, I'll always show up.
Welcome to episode 3 of trying every climbing gym in New York City. Today, I'm at Vital in Brooklyn. I'll start with a quick rundown of their training tools and then jump into the climbing to get a feel for their route setting. At the end, I'll give an overall review of the gym and figure out where it belongs on my tier list. For training tools, they have 2 kilter boards, a tension board 1, hang boards, and a spray wall. The gym area is one of the best I've seen, with a good selection of free weights, benches, racks, and cables. And on top of that, there's also an outdoor climbing area on the rooftop with a beautiful view of the Manhattan skyline. Okay, now onto the climbing. I was here for 8 hours, so I'm just going to show you my sense, or else this video would be hella long. But let's start with this green VB/V0. Honestly, it's way harder than most V0s. A lot of the holds are angled, and you gotta use your brain for body positioning and feet placement. Really sick setting for a low grade climb though. Next up is this black V0/V1. It's kinda just a ladder on vert terrain with worse holds. But I've been climbing a bit outdoors this fall, and I've come to appreciate this type of setting. Also, I don't think this is the intended beta, but I find a little mantle to move my foot up. I move on to this green V2/V3. The double Gaston start is immediately more interesting than the last climb. The movement is pretty fun, and I like how many options you have for foot sequences. Next up is this orange V4/V5. I didn't read this toe hook from the ground, so I have to bump my left hand to make room, and I almost come off. To get to the next hold, I have to release the toe hook and control a massive swing. At this point, I'm super pumped and realize I have to jump to the last hold. But luckily, I'm able to stick it and flash the boulder. This is a super sick climb with a mixture of tensioning moves and a couple of dynamic ones. I move on to this blue V4/V5. The first section of this boulder is basically figuring out how to move up to this giant flat half circle. I was able to kind of pincer the volume with my legs. Then, you gotta figure out how to transition from laying back on the half circle to getting your hips square to stand up to the last hole. I try to mantle off my left hand to swap feet, but it's much easier with both hands on the hold instead. I'm able to swap feet and then step up into the overhead press. I love the quality of movement even with so few holds. Next up is this pink V2/V3. The first move is a sideways dyno, and you have to focus on landing the foot first so you can kind of step up into the hole. It's pretty cool that dynos start at V3 here. I usually see them start at V4 in other gyms. These holds on the volume are actually surprisingly bad crimps. I did not feel confident in getting the high right foot and rocking over it, but I'm able to finish and get the flash. I move on to this pink V2/V3 slab. It starts with this match on a thumb undercling. Then you go down to a side pull to move over to the right until you can reach the next hold. I actually have no idea what the intended sequence is here. I end up mantling on this jug in order to grab the next hold. Next up is this green V2/V3. It has this really awkward step-up move. The footholds are slopey and kind of push you away from the wall, and the lower one definitely felt like bait for shorter people. This move is also cool. You mantle into a crazy Gaston. So far, I'm very impressed with the setting, even at lower grades. I move on to this orange V4/V5. I struggled with this move out to the left. It's a pretty big move, and the foot pushes you in the opposite direction of the next hold. And I actually miss it, but I can stay locked off and grab it. This toe hook is super good, but I have to move it all the way up so I can reach the last hold. Next up is black V4/V5. It starts on the roof in the middle of this arch. All the holds are super good, so it's not too hard. I think the crux is this overhead undercling. I crank on this heel to get above it, but it felt kind of awkward, so I wonder if there's a better way to do it. I'm pretty pumped at this point, and even the small bump feels super hard and tensiony. But luckily, the end is very chill and static, and I'm able to get the send. I move on to this blue V2/V3 that looks like a piece of art. The crux is the ending sequence. I mantle on my right hand, but get a little stuck because I can't move my feet up. I bring my left hand back down so I can swap feet and get my left foot up. I get my right foot up, but then realize I can't stand up in this position. So I have to do some more down climbing. I get a high right foot and press it into the side of the hold. Then I drop knee and mantle so I can get my left foot up. Finally, I'm able to stand up for the finish. This is an absolute 5-star boulder, from the movement to the aesthetics. Next up is this yellow V4/V5 in the cave. This one is pretty straightforward on in-cut holds. I move on to this orange V4/V5. This one is infinitely times better than the last climb, despite being the same grade. Check out this sick dyno from flat crimps. My right foot slips around on the dish, but I almost held that swing. This time, I focus on that right foot, and it's so smooth that it feels like I'm dancing on the wall. And check this out. I'm able to get a toe hook drop knee to get the next couple of holds statically. And for this last move, I do a huge jump. I absolutely love the movement. What a banger of a boulder. Next up is this pink V4/V5. It starts on a slightly curved ledge, and you kick up a high left foot. Then I flip my hands, do a mantle until I can reach this crimp Gaston. From there, I have to get a high right foot. I'm not flexible enough at first, but I turn my left foot to face the next hold, and then I'm able to get it. This is a little tip if you ever have trouble with a high foot. We're generally more flexible in a front split rather than a side split. I move on to this blue V4/V5. All of the holds are thin and shallow pinches. Next up is this orange V4/V5. For the first move, I do this awkward outside pinch thing and jam my forearm into the hole. The rest of the climb is pretty straightforward. My friend recommended I try this yellow V2/V3 because it has pretty technical moves for the grade. There are so many holds that I have no idea what the sequence is. I go for a mantle with a high right foot, but it feels so wrong. The holds are also a lot crimpier than I expected, so I can't just fling myself between holds. I move on to this orange V4/V5. This first move is sick. You have to dynamically step up into this Gaston press against the volume. Then, you have to get a high right foot and stand up in the corner. I try to skip some really bad footholds, but I'm not flexible enough. Luckily, the crimp Gaston is pretty good, and I can walk my feet up. Then the ending is pretty delicate. Just another masterpiece of a boulder with great movement. Next up is this blue V4/V5. It took me a while to figure out this beta where I pincer the volume to create tension for the crossover. I was intending to go with my right hand to the next hold, but I didn't feel stable enough without a right foothold, so I grab it as a Gaston instead and then get my right foot up. And from there, I can just go to the top edge and completely skip the hold on the left. Fun fact, my right foot slips on dual techs and I crush my nuts on the top out. But wow, look at the amazing view from the roof. There's actually so much climbable surface up here on all sorts of terrain. It's very impressive. My one complaint is that rubber chips suck, and I feel like I'm going to break my ankles if I fall. But that's good motivation to just not fall. The holds also feel a little different out here. I think weathering the elements made them a little smoother and polished. But anyway, I'm on this green V4/V5 with very flat and crimpy holds. This section was a little cryptic. I wanted to create opposition with my left foot, but the holds were too tiny to heel hook. But I'm able to pincer it with my inside edge instead. Rather than going directly into a Gaston, I mantle on the hold to shift my weight to the right a little, and that makes it easier to switch to the Gaston since my hips don't have to move. And the last move is a super tensiony crossover out of a double Gaston. I move on to this black V4/V5. I thought it would be easier since the holds were bigger, but they were much slopier, and the footholds are way more angled. Look at how I have to kind of pincer my right foot instead of pushing straight down. This lock off into the hand switch is also a pretty cool move. This foothold is so sloped that I can't stand up on it. Instead, I find a toe hook that lets me move my hands. So, pretty good setting, even outside. But it was actually really cold and windy, so I decided to go back inside and check out their comp section, starting with this blue V4/V5. The first move is this dynamic rockover into a hand stab. Then there's this blind jump around the volume to a mega jug. I just barely hold on with one hand. I dynamically go to this crimp, but it's so much worse than I thought it would be, and I slip off. But luckily, I'm on a jug, so I have a second chance. And from there, I can mantle and sit on the jug for the match. I love this one. The dynamic balancing move into an awkward jump was just beautiful. And it has that comp style where it's not super hard, but definitely uncomfortable. Next up is this green V4/V5. All the holds are pretty good, so this one is more about the movement. The dynamic move into the double Gaston is cool, and you go straight into a hand heel match. And you can really crank on that heel to do a big bump. I think the sequence is super flowy, even if I didn't make it look that way. Move on to this blue V4/V5. It starts with a step up to a pocket, and to control the swing, I have to swap feet and stab my right foot. I get a high right foot on one of the tiniest footholds I've ever seen, and cross under to move my right hand. But these pockets feel a lot worse than the first one, so I decided to just make a dynamic move to the last hold. I actually miss it, but the right hand is so good that I can hold the deep lock off long enough to readjust and grab it. I'm just glad that I didn't fall with my two fingers stuck in that pocket. But honestly, what an awesome comp boulder with dynamic moves on precise pockets and a tiny foothold. So, after my 8-hour session, what do I think of Vital Climbing Gym in Brooklyn? In terms of training tools, it's almost perfect. They have a good gym, hang boards, canvas boards, training boards, and a spray wall. The only thing I can think of is to swap one of their kilter boards for a moonboard. And their setting is absolutely phenomenal. They have a lot of dynamic comp style climbs, a lot of traditional tensiony climbs, and both styles are extremely fun and high quality. They share a number of climbs, and the variety of terrain is also incredible. Not to mention that they have even more boulders on the rooftop with the beautiful view of the Manhattan skyline. I truly wish that this was my home gym. The only downsides of this gym are the price and how crowded it gets. A day pass is $38, which is the most expensive that I've ever seen, but it's still so worth it in my opinion. It was also super crowded on a Saturday, which is usually pretty quiet in my experience, so I can't imagine how busy it would be immediately after work. But if this is your home gym, you could become an incredibly strong climber in every style. And for that, I have to put this gym in S tier. I think it just barely edges out Vital Lower East Side with the sheer number of boulders. What do you think of this gym? Let me know in the comments down below. And if you're interested in more New York City climbing gym reviews, check out this playlist right over here. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye!